saying that for some time now that their schools are not and would not be ready for today's return, citing a lack of personal protective equipment and water, amongst other issues. And it does appear that the Department of Education now agrees with them and other stakeholders, having delayed the return of learners to school by 1 week. But are the unions convinced that teachers should be back at schools and that they will be ready by next week to receive those learners? Joining us now to discuss this are Basil Manuel, the Executive Director of the National Professional Teachers Union, and Klopper, who's the Chief Executive of the South African Teachers Union. Gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking to us once again here on Morning Live.
Pleasure. Thank you. Good morning.
Basil, let me start with you. First off, let's just get some clarity. Are teachers affiliated to your union, will they be back at school today or not?
Many of them won't be back there today because many schools are not ready to have them. And within this week, we do expect that the teachers would get back. But certainly today, we have not called on our teachers to be there in any great numbers for the very reasons that we've had all this confusion, and it has been a terrible day for many, and yesterday's confusion just trumped it all. So no, they're not there today, but during the week they have to get back so that we ready the school system for the eventual return of the learners, whenever that may be.
So what are you hoping will be different from today until later on in the week when you say you would expect them to return?
Well, what we hope, and remember this is a moving target, that every day more schools get the PPEs, get the comfort that the schools are ready to go back. And we had given the minister the opportunity to, in fact, have all the teachers back starting today, provided that the schools were ready, and that schooling will begin all at one time when we agree on a date. And so at the moment, we are not at that place where we are satisfied that schooling will begin on Monday, but we must get our schools ready, because remember, it's not only about the PPEs. It is also about getting the schooling systems within the school ready. There's far more work than most people realize that has to be done to ensure that there's a successful start to the school year again.
Klopper, briefly, what's your reaction to the minister's delay of the return to learners to schools, and what has been your directive to your members after meeting with the Basic Department Education?
Our position is similar to Basil's position, and that is that we have instructed our teachers to be back at school, provided that all the safety and the health requirements are met. If the health and safety requirements are not met, then they are not allowed back at the school. We assume that the majority will be there because that has been the instruction of the employer. But as I indicated, it won't be all the teachers, because in many schools, nothing has really happened up until now.
Now, Chris, did the minister indicate that the reopening of schools for learners would be delayed in the meeting that you had over the weekend?
No, there was no indication whatsoever. There was an indication and an undertaking to us that after the meeting on Saturday afternoon, she would consult with the Committee of Education Ministers, that would be the 9 MECs for education, and that she would revert to us and give us feedback on what the decision was. Then we heard that the media announcement of 4 o'clock was postponed until 6 o'clock. And then 6 o'clock, we heard that it was cancelled, and we knew that something was afoot. And an hour later, we received the media statement that said, and there are some errors in that particular media statement, that on the 8th, all learners will be back. Now, that is not true. On the 8th, only the grade 12s and the grade 7s will be back. So it was a bit of a surprise. We understand that there's a lot of confusion and that there was a lot of pressure on the minister. But it would have been better, especially in light of the fact that on Friday, there were directives published in the Government Gazette, indicating in terms of paragraph 4.2 that the school will open on Monday, that is today. That was an instruction. And everybody assumed that that particular instruction would be valid and that it would be honored. But at the end of the day, we just heard that it was cancelled, and it's something that we can only say is unfortunate because it caused unnecessary confusion. And let's be honest, many of the principals experienced this as a traumatic experience.
Basil, Manuel, what else was new in terms of information that came out of that meeting with the department on Saturday?
Well, for the first time, there was an absolute acknowledgement by the minister in front of all the MECs and the heads of department of the provinces that her own consortium corroborated the view of the unions from our survey, that the schooling system is not ready. It corroborated the view of the Human Rights Commission that the schooling system is not ready for the general opening for learners. And that was a major undertaking and a major concession being made, because we've been saying this all along, because we've been doing random surveys as the weeks have been rolling. And knowing that it was a given that we would have to, that there would be an announcement that would delay the opening of schools. Chris is right, there was no emphatic statement. But the fact that there was no return to us and that this sudden delay, it caused immense confusion. And it's a great pity, because we needed that leadership. We needed the minister to stand up, because parents need reassurance. Teachers need reassurance. In fact, the system itself needs to be reassured that we are all running in the same direction. And this is the hope that we left the meeting with on Saturday. Unfortunately, we didn't get the return call on Sunday. We were not recognized in the choice and announcement of a date, which, by the way, we didn't know about. We didn't know about the 8th. And so now we are busy picking up pieces, and we hope that today's announcement will be a little more measured and a little more embracing of everybody, so that we can start running in the same direction.
So we're out of time, but I just have to put this question to both of you. We've been so focused on the health issues, and rightly so, but do we even know about the situation regarding learning and teaching resources such as textbooks and others that the schools are plagued with in terms of their readiness? Let me start with you, Chris.
Well, as far as we know, that in many schools, learners share textbooks. There was an undertaking by the minister that would be a practice that would be prevented in future, and that each and every learner would receive his or own textbook, because the principle of social distancing of 1.5 meters is an imperative. It has to be adhered to. And hopefully the minister and the provincial departments of education, and let's be honest about that, I think the provincial departments of education are throwing the minister under the bus. And they have not been truthful to her in regard to what the true state of affairs are. But we believe that that is something that needs to be tended to now urgently. And as Basil has intimated, it is much more complex to get a school started than everybody thinks. It's not just that you all pitch up at the school and all of a sudden everybody just goes to the classes and the school starts. It's much more complex than that. You have to get timetables in place. And then what is more complex now is the principle of social engineering, and that at any given time, only 50% of the learners have to be at school. That is complex. It's not easy to administer. It's not easy to get in place. And there are many other issues that need to be tended to.
And we're out of time, but just very briefly from you as well, Basil, Manuel.
Yes, Chris is right. It's very complicated, and the school readiness is a major issue. We must remember that very few of our schools are pure community schools today. And so principals, the management teams have a huge task to decide which 50% comes when. And we want to say to the public, we want our schools back. We want our teachers back at school. But we must also be met halfway and ensure that everybody has a feeling of safety first. And then we need to see that all these other deliveries are there.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. Teachers unions, NAPTOSA and SAOU, talking to us about their concerns related to the safety and health aspects of schools with regard to COVID-19. A quick break.